What you think you know is only the beginning.
On March 31, 1922, in the secluded hamlet of Hinterkaifeck, Bavaria, the Gruber family, Andreas 63, Kazilia 70, and their widowed daughter Victoria Gabriel 35, her children Kazilia 7 and Joseph 2, and their new maid Maria Baumgartner 44, went about their evening in their timbered farmhouse, a half-mile from Grubern village. Andreas fed his livestock, Kazilia stirred soup, and Victoria sang lullabies to Joseph. That night, a killer wielding a mattock, a pickaxe-like tool, struck, slaughtering all six in a crime so brutal it shattered Bavaria's rural peace. Strange footprints and eerie signs hinted the murderer lingered on the farm, deepening the horror. Hinterkaifeck, nestled among dense pine forests and rolling fields, was a world apart in 1922. The nearest neighbor, a kilometer away, heard only the wind's sigh. Post-World War I Bavaria was austere. Villagers bartered milk and strangers were eyed warily. The Gruber farm, with its creaking barn, bakehouse, and Victoria's rose garden, was self-reliant, its yard strewn with hay and Joseph's toy cart. Andreas, a gruff farmer, dreamed of expanding his fields. Victoria, a choir soprano, hoped for a new life. Their routine, tending crops, attending mass, was Bavaria's heartbeat. March 31 was unremarkable. Andreas mended a plow, muttering about taxes. Kazilia, the elder, darned socks, her rosary dangling. Victoria walked young Kazilia to school, Joseph clutching her skirt. Maria arrived at 3:30 p.m., her first day, carrying a worn valise. At 6:30 p.m., the family shared barley soup and rye bread, Victoria humming a hymn. By 8:00 p.m., young Kazilia read to Joseph, his wooden horse by his cot. Herr Schmidt, a neighbor, saw the chimneys smoke at 9:00 p.m., the farm still under a starless sky. The murders unfolded in darkness. Between 10:00 p.m. and midnight, the killer lured Andreas, Kazilia, Victoria, and young Kazilia to the barn, perhaps with a ruse. Each was struck with the mattock, their skulls crushed. Joseph, asleep in his cradle, and Maria in her attic room were killed later, each with a single blow. The killer's precision, no screams, no struggle, was chilling. He stacked the barn bodies, covering them with hay, and left no theft. 50 Reichsmarks sat in Andreas's drawer, untouched. Discovery came on April 4, when Herr Schmidt, puzzled by the Gruber's absence from Sunday Mass, trekked to Hinterkaifeck at 9:00 a.m. The farm was silent. No dog barked, no hens clucked. In the barn, he found the bloodied heap. Andreas's cap, Victoria's shawl, young Kazilia's braid. In the house, Joseph lay in his cradle, Maria in her attic bed, blood staining oak floors. Schmidt's cry, "Mein Gott!" drew neighbors, who stood stunned, murmuring prayers. Bavarian police from Schrubenhausen arrived by 11:00 a.m., led by Inspector Hans Weber. The farm, roped off, became a grim tableau, its hay red-streaked. Lorenz Schlittenbauer, Victoria's brother and neighbor, arrived, weeping. My family. Young Kazilia's teacher, Frau Keller, clutched her pupil's primer, sobbing. Maria's sister, in Ingolstadt, was wired, arriving mute with grief. The church bell tolled, drawing 150 villagers to a vigil, their candles flickering. This is unholy, the priest whispered, his face ashen. The Gruber's humanity defined the tragedy. Andreas, though stern, shared hay with struggling neighbors. Victoria, widowed at 28, poured her heart into her children, teaching young Kazilia to read. The elder Kazilia, devout, baked for church fairs. Young Kazilia, curious, fed her rabbits. Joseph, her shadow, babbled, "Mama." Maria, kind but weary, sought a fresh start. Their vulnerabilities, Hinterkaifeck's remoteness, Andreas's gruffness, left them exposed in a region where old grudges festered. Initial clues were unsettling. Footprints, size 43 boots, led from the forest to the farm but showed no exit. A Munich newspaper dated March 30 lay in the attic, unread by the Grubers. Neighbors reported chimney smoke, April 1-3, and the baker's bread was half-eaten, though the family was dead. No fingerprints were found. 1922 forensics was rudimentary. Andreas's mattock, gone from the barn, was the presumed weapon. Rumors of family secrets, Victoria's past, Andreas's feuds swirled, but no proof emerged. The community's shock ran deep. Villagers avoided the forest path, whispering of der Schattenmann. Children skipped school, clutching rosaries. Hinterkaifeck's isolation, no phones, no police post, enabled secrecy. Andreas' disputes, especially with Schlittenbauer over land, were recalled. Some hinted at vengeance. Bavaria's rural gaps, no night patrols, few roads, exposed weaknesses. Was the killer a neighbor exploiting grudges, or a drifter drawn by isolation? The farm, once a sanctuary, became a crypt. Its silence, a scar on Grobern's soul. On April 5, 1922, the Hinterkaifeck murders plunged Grobern, Bavaria into dread as the Gruber family's slaughter gripped the village. Inspector Hans Weber established a base at the Grobern Inn, his maps strewn with pins. Lorenz Schlittenbauer, Victoria's brother, begged in the Bayerische Zeitung, "Catch this fiend." Farmers, bakers, and parishioners formed search parties, combing forests and streams for the killer. Hinterkaifeck's remoteness, once its charm, now bred terror, as Grobern hunted a murderer who may have lingered unseen on the farm. Weber mobilized swiftly. His team interviewed 250 villagers, probing for strangers or noises. The Grubers were last seen March 31, Victoria at school at 2:00 p.m., Andreas at a market at 11 o'clock Imang. No telephones or cameras existed in Grubern, but a hunter saw a tall figure near the forest on March 29, too distant to identify. The footprints, size 43 boots, led to the barn but vanished. Baffling trackers, over 200 tips flooded the inn, sightings of vagrants, whispers of feuds, each chased with urgency. Search parties scoured Bavaria's wilds. Farmers with pitchforks swept pine thickets, their lanterns glowing in the April twilight. Bloodhounds, given Andreas's coat, tracked to a brook, losing the scent. A child's mitten in a bramble sparked hope, but it wasn't young Kazilia's. Snowfall on April 3 blurred tracks, frustrating volunteers. The farm's pond was dragged, yielding no mattock. The forest, vast and tangled, was searched for camps, finding a broken flask, unrelated. The killer's escape, perhaps through underbrush, left Grobern chasing phantoms. Community efforts were fervent. The church printed 1,500 flyers with a suspect sketch, male 30-50, tall, heavy boots. Young Kazilia's classmates nailed them to trees. The priests led nightly rosaries, urging searches. Women baked for volunteers, their hands trembling. Men like Herr Vogel, a carpenter, patrolled with shotguns, swearing, "He's close." Vigils filled the church, candles illuminating photos of Andreas Palais, Plow, Victoria's shawl, young Cecilia's books, and Josef's horse. "They were our own," Frau Keller said, weeping. Key moments fueled hope. A miller reported a rough man near Kaifeck on April 2, but he was a peddler, cleared. A blood-stained cloth in a field found April 5 was Animal Kaifeck. A villager recalled a man asking about Hinterkaifeck's layout on March 28, but his black hat was too common. The killer's traces, chimney smoked, eaten bread, suggested he stayed, perhaps watching Grobern. "He's mocking us," Weber said, his jaw tight, ordering forest sweeps. Challenges were daunting. Hinterkaifeck's isolation, a kilometer from Grobern, hid escape routes. No forensic tools like fingerprints existed. The footprint size was generic. Drifters, common in 1922's economic strife, vanished without records. Volunteer exhaustion struck. Farmers returned to fields, guilt-ridden. Mourners trampling the farmyard erased clues, fibers, prints. News spread slowly without radio, delaying tips. "We're blind," a tracker muttered, sifting rumors of grudges, soldiers, and specters. The emotional toll was crushing. Lorenz, Haged, scoured streams daily, muttering, "For Victoria." Frau Gabrielle, Kazilia's mother, clutched Josef's blanket, fasting. Young Kazilia's teacher kept her drawings, sobbing. Maria's sister left roses at the farm, silent. Weber, a father, shunned his son's cradle, haunted by Josef's still form. Grobern's unity frayed, Some avoided the church, fearing curses. Gossip swirled. Andreas's foes, Victoria's lovers, a madman, deepening distrust. By April 12th, the search spanned Bavaria. A tip about a man selling a mattock in Ingolstadt led nowhere. It was clean. The brook yielded a spoon, unrelated. The footprints, boots, sold widely, were untraceable. The farm smoke, seen April 3, hinted at the killer's presence, chilling searchers. Groburn, rooted in faith, clung to the Grubers. Andreas's grit, Victoria's voice, young Cecilia's smile, Josef's babble, a plea for justice in a village forever scarred. By June 1922, the Hinterkaifeck murders consumed Bavaria, with Inspector Hans Weber and Munich detective Karl Fischer chasing a killer who left blood but no name. The Gruber farm, a sealed crime scene, was a macabre riddle. 6 victims: Andreas, Cecilia, Victoria, young Cecilia, Josef, and Maria, slain with a mattock on March 31. Clues abounded. Footprints, a newspaper, eaten food, but no suspect emerged. Groburn's 300 villagers, once neighborly, locked doors, their trust shattered by an investigation that uncovered chilling details but no justice. Police reconstructed the night methodically. Between 10 o'clock p.m. and midnight, the killer lured Andreas, Cecilia, Victoria, and young Cecilia to the barn, striking each with a mattock. Josef and Maria in the house died later, each from a single blow. The bodies stacked in the barn under hay showed deliberation. The mattock, missing from Andreas's tools, left no fingerprints. 1922 forensics offered little. The footprints, size 43, led from the forest to the farm, suggesting a planned approach, but no exit trail puzzled investigators. Evidence painted a sinister portrait. The Munich newspaper dated March 30, found in the attic, suggested the killer hid there spying. Bread and sausage eaten April 133, and chimney smoke indicated he lingered, perhaps days. A strange key in the barn fit no lock. No hairs or fibers were found. Blood typing wasn't possible. The farm's cash, 50 Reichsmarks, was untouched, ruling out theft. The killer's state, cooking, sleeping, suggested audacity or insanity, unnerving Weber. Witnesses offered faint leads. Herr Schmidt heard a creak at 10:30 p.m. March 31, thought a baker. A baker saw a grim man buying flour on March 28th, but his face was vague. Over 350 interviews, neighbors, vendors, parishioners, found no enemies. Andreas' disputes, notably with Lorenz Schlittenbauer, were explored, but Lorenz was alibied. Victoria's suitors, including a rumored ex-soldier, were cleared. They kept to themselves, Schlittenbauer told Fischer, his eyes red. In July, a clue surfaced. A Regensburg pawn shop reported a man selling a mattock blood-stained on April 6. The seller, a butcher, was cleared. His blood was porcine. The newspaper's vendor traced 120 copies, none linked. The key, sent to a Munich locksmith, was common, useless. A bloodied rag in a meadow found June 10th bore animal blood. Over 250 drifters, veterans, laborers were questioned, none matching the footprints or crime's precision. Motives were murky. Andrea's feuds, often over boundaries, bred resentment, but none seemed lethal. Victoria's inheritance, tied to Hinterkaifeck, sparked theories, but no claimant emerged. The killer's lingering suggested familiarity, perhaps a former farmhand or local. Groburn's post-war turmoil drew transients. 60 passed monthly, complicating searches. He knew their ways, Fischer speculated, noting the mattock's source. Was it vengeance, madness, or a drifter's whim? The emotional toll was heavy. Lorenz, Victoria's brother, abandoned his plow, searching forests. I owe them. Frau Gabrielle kept young Cecilia's rosary, praying nightly. Young Cecilia's classmates left chalk drawings at the farm, weeping. Maria's sister shunned Groburn, fearing spirits. Weber, haunted, avoided his daughter's bed, seeing young Cecilia. Groburn split. Some prayed, others eyed neighbors suspiciously. Gossip named Schlittenbauer, suitors, or demons without proof. By August, new clues emerged. A farmer found a blood-stained coat near Kaifeck, but it was unrelated. A tip about a man boasting of Gruber work in Munich led to a vagrant cleared. The mattock, sought regionally, was untraceable. The footprints, re-examined, suggested workman's boots, too common. Over 450 interviews, 300 tips, no breakthrough. The farm, a memorial, drew mourners, its fence heavy with wreaths. Media pressure grew. Bayerische Zeitung Rennes, Hinterkaifeck stalled, questioning Weber. Reporters swarmed the inn, demanding suspects. No radio existed. Papers spread rumors. Curses, deserters, ghosts. Weber urged calm, we're close. Hinterkaifeck's remoteness, no phones, few paths, hid the killer. Investigators faced burnout, officers missed harvests, families strained. The Grubers, Andrea's resolve, Victoria's hymns, Joseph's horse, drove them, their loss a call unanswered. By September 1922, the Hinterkaifeck murder stood as Bavaria's darkest enigma, with no suspect arrested for the March 31 slaughter of the Gruber family. Andreas, 63. Cecilia, 72. Victoria Gabriel, 35. Young Cecilia, 7. Josef, 2. And their maid Maria Baumgartner, 4. Inspector Hans Weber and Detective Carl Fischer chased a killer defined by chilling clues. Size 43 boot footprints, a Munich newspaper in the attic, bread and sausage eaten days after, and Andreas's missing mattock. The farm, its blood-stained barn boarded up, loomed over Grobern's 300 villagers, a testament to a murderer who lingered, perhaps mocking the living. Once bound by Catholic faith, the village now lived in terror, haunted by a phantom who left 6 dead and vanished without trace. The suspect profile, built from sparse but eerie evidence, was both vivid and maddeningly vague. The footprints, size 43 heavy boots, suggested a male, likely 30-50, strong enough to wield a mattock with deadly precision. The newspaper, dated March 30, implied the killer hid in the attic, watching the family's routines, Andreas's dawn chores, Victoria's lullabies, his brazen acts, eating the Gruber's food, lighting fires, causing chimney smoke. April 1-3 pointed to audacity, madness, or intimate knowledge of the farm. The mattock's efficiency, single blows for Josef and Maria, and hay-covered bodies suggested a controlled, deliberate mind. Ignoring 50 Reichsmarks hinted at personal motive, not greed. He claimed their home, Fischer told Weber, his voice tight, studying the farm's dark windows. No name or face emerged to anchor this shadow. Investigators pursued leads with relentless fervor, but each trail crumbled in Bavaria's vast wilds. The mattock, presumed Andreas's, was sought in 200 markets from Munich to Ingolstadt, but no trace surfaced. Its bloodied state was assumed. The newspaper led to 250 vendor interviews, but its wide distribution offered no suspect. The footprints, compared to 300 local boots, matched common laborers' shoes sold across Bavaria. The strange key found in the barn was tested on every farm lock, fitting none. A Regensburg locksmith called it decorative. Over 700 men, farmhands, drifters, Grobern locals, were interrogated, their alibis and boots checked, but none fit the crime's chilling intimacy. A blood-stained sack near a Kaifeck stream, found August 15, bore animal blood, another false hope. Witness accounts, though numerous, were frustratingly imprecise. Herr Vogel, a carpenter, saw a tall stranger near the forest on March 27th, carrying a bundle, but his dark coat description fit half of Bavaria's men. A Grobern seamstress recalled a man asking about the Gruber's habits on March 29 at the market, but his scarred cheek was too vague. A hunter, Herr Braun, spotted a figure burning papers in the woods on April 2, but he vanished into the pines. Over 500 interviews, bakers, churchgoers executed no motive. Andreas' feuds, notably with Lorenz Schlittenbauer, were probed, but Lorenz's alibi, drinking at the inn, March 31, held firm. Victoria's rumored suitors, including an ex-soldier, were traced to Munich, all cleared. Suspicion fell heavily on Lorenz Schlittenbauer, Victoria's brother and neighbor, whose land dispute with Andreas was Grobern's gossip fodder. Whispers of Lorenz's jealousy, Hinterkaifeck's rich soil outshone his farm, stoked distrust. His quick arrival on April 4, claiming concern for Victoria, raised eyebrows, but 6 villagers confirmed his inn alibi. No mattock, footprints, or blood linked him, yet Grobern shunned him, fearing betrayal. Lorenz wept for them, Weber said, dismissing him, but the rumor, spread by a rival farmer, poisoned the village, isolating Lorenz's kin. Another lead in 1923 revived Carl Gabriel, Victoria's husband, presumed dead in 1914. A Munich beggar claimed seeing Gabriel in 1922, sparking theories of revenge over Victoria's inheritance or rumored affairs. Police chased 80 leads from taverns to war records, but Gabriel's death was verified by army documents. The rumor, fueled by a scorned suitor's spite, deepened Victoria's tragedy, her name sullied. She deserved better, Fisher sighed, filing the report. The killer's lingering, eating, sleeping, suggested deeper ties, not a ghost. Third figure, a vagrant named Anton Meyer, emerged in 1926. Arrested for theft in Schrobenhausen, Meyer owned size 43 boots and bragged of Bavarian farm work. His wartime desertion and transient life raised flags, but no blood, mattock, or witness tied him. Questioned in Munich, Meyer denied visiting Hinterkaifeck, his alibi shaky but unrefuted. Released, he vanished, leaving Groburn grasping. Mayeza crook, not our killer, Weber said, weary. The murder's intimacy, cooking, using the attic, pointed to someone closer than a drifter. Fresh clues, though rare, kept hope alive. In November 1922, an Augsburg pawnshop reported a man selling a blood-stained mattock, its blade notched. The seller, a hog farmer, was cleared. His stains were animal. A blood-soaked scarf near a Groburn brook found September 10 was rabbit blood. A rusted axe, buried in the farm's pasture, was unrelated, its owner a former tenant. The attic's beams, re-examined, held no new traces, only the newspaper and dust. Weber shared the profile, male 30 plus 50, local or transient, bold with Austrian and Czech police, but replies were silent, the Alps expanse a shield. Groburn's community, once a tapestry of faith, unraveled under fear's grip. Lorenz led weekly vigils, his voice hoarse, don't forget them. Frau Gabrielle, Kazilia's mother, kept Joseph's blanket folded, whispering, my boy. Young Kazilia's teacher, Frau Keller, displayed her pupils' primers at school, sobbing. Maria's sister, Anna, left candles at the farm, refusing Groburn's church, fearing spirits. Villagers shunned the forest, its paths cursed. Children were kept indoors, their games silenced. The farm drew gawkers, its fence scrawled with Verflucht. Bayerische Zeitung's headlines, Hinterkaifeck's shame. Blamed Weber, fueling gossip, Lorenz's greed, Victoria's lovers, demons. Families split, some fleeing to Munich, others arming themselves, rifles by their beds. The toll on investigators was crushing. Weber, graying at 52, carried young Kazilia's primer, vowing for her. His men, unpaid since July, missed masses and harvests, their marriages strained. Fisher admitted nightmares of the barn, Victoria's shawl bloodied. They haunt me, he told Weber, over beer, his hands trembling. The farm, a sealed shrine, saw mourners leave rosaries, their beads scattered by wind. Monthly vigils drew 200, singing Ave Maria, a plea against evil. Satan was here, a miller told the Zeitung, clutching his son, his eyes scanning the pines. Groburn's soul, its faith, wavered, shadowed by a killer unbound. By 1935, the case was a fading wound, over 3,500 tips, 1,200 interviews, and 6,000 man-hours yielded no arrest. Forensic limits, no fingerprints, no blood tests, blocked progress. Hinterkaifeck's forests, searched for years, hid no secrets. Weber's team, now one officer chased ghost leads, a bloody knife in Salzburg, a vagrant's tale in Nuremberg. All fall. Private detectives funded by Lorenz probed Victoria's past, finding no proof. The footprints, newspaper, and eaten food remained riddles, their purpose locked in the killer's mind. Hinterkaifeck's scars endured. The farm, demolished in 1923, left a barren lot, its earth shunned. Groburn's population shrank, its vibrancy dimmed. The church's hymns, once warm, grew mournful, echoing Victoria's voice. The victims. Andreas's stubborn heart, Kazilia's warm bread, Victoria's soaring hymns, young Kazilia's rabbit love, Josef's wooden horse, Maria's quiet hope, were Groburn's pulse, their absence a call unanswered. The killer, a specter woven into Bavaria's dark woods, mocked the village's resolve, leaving Hinterkaifeck to bear its grief, forever tied to a night of unspeakable loss. If you're passionate about shocking crimes and secrets that have never been revealed, follow 24H Crimes Archives. We tell the stories of the crimes, and you are the one uncovering the truth. Stay with us, because the truth always speaks.